I just hit live. Hi, everybody. I see people joining. Hi, Cheryl, Dima, Eric, Tyler, David. Hi, John. Go ahead and put in the chat where you are from. And if it's your first time, go ahead and say first time. I see some familiar names in here. I see Joey. I recognize Tyler, Dima, David, Jennifer. It's good to see you all. We have a very special guest with us today, Andrew Burnett, who is in Myrtle Beach. So we got Tyler, Louisiana, David in Jersey City. Thank you for coming, Toronto, representing Canada. We usually have Megan here who's in Canada, but I think she had another call. Oh, hey, two Canadians. Very nice. Cheryl in Toronto, Jennifer in Indiana, Las Vegas, Enu. Welcome, Megan. Thanks for joining. So glad to have you here. We go deep in these sessions, so get ready to learn. Do not multitask. You will miss things, but these are recorded, so don't worry. All right, so let me share a screen. We'll get started. Well, if it's your first time, thank you for sharing your very precious time. I know you're busy. We have Andrew Burnett from the Secure Home Finder team. I know Andrew for several years, so very grateful to Andrew for sharing his precious time as well as his precious knowledge that he's tested and learned the hard way these systems, and now he's sharing with you all. And I'm sure he'll probably say it's never done and that's it. He's always refining his systems, but this is what it is today. He's sharing the system that he's learned from Chris Snow and Reside and how he's made it his own for his team. How his team converts leads through a structured team-wide phone shift system using a money time pond. So they use shift scheduling, agent ranking, ISA transfers, follow-up boss setup, incentives, and conversion metrics, all around higher conversion. So if you struggle with conversion and if you have a team of agents, this is the session for you. If you struggle with conversion and getting your agents to call leads and all that fun stuff, and figuring out ranking your agents, all that, please say yes. I'm just curious. If you struggle with that, say yes in the comments. While we wait for those answers, some housekeeping. If this is your first time, or maybe it's not your first time, you are in the community of a Real Estate Collective. Welcome. When you RSVP'd for this session, you created an account in a platform called Circle, and we use Circle to be the infrastructure for our community. We host all of our sessions in Circle, and you have a free account unless you're a pro member and this is not your first rodeo. If you would like to access the replay for this session or any other sessions we've had, you can use the code WELCOME and to get $47 off, which is a month free. And I'll put this in the chat for $47 off. And basically, let me share this tab. This is where you went to join and RSVP this session. This session and all other sessions go to the main house for replays. So I went live yesterday and showed how to use Claude with specific prompts to build a hyper-personalized open house recap per visitor for an open house you host, and a personalized seller recap tool, what all of the activity meant, the next steps, and a really pretty PDF visualization. And we have a prompt library now with a prompt builder tool. Shout out to Brian Hurley for building that for us. It's super cool. It helps you build prompts that are better than just asking GPT to write you a seller recap email and it sounds terrible. So every prompt that we share that we personally test and have proven is shared in this library here. So you get access to that, access to our REC bot, which is trained on all of our sessions that we host. So you can ask questions about this session once we have the replay posted. You can say, what was Andrew Burnett's session about again? How does he manage the money tampon? How does he rank his agents again? What's the prompt he uses again? You can ask it and get those answers right away. So just wanted to share that for a little bit of housekeeping. So without further ado, and all the boring stuff out of the way, Andrew, I'll let you take it from here. Thank you so much again for spending your precious time with us, and let's get started.
Awesome. So excited to share what we are doing. So just a little bit of background, kind of how we got into Money Time is a couple of years ago, I started a team and I used to do round robin. So I would give, one kind of lead to everybody in the team. And I was by an abundance amount of leads. We've created and generated our whole business from Google PPC. And I realized that agents were getting a lot of leads in their name that they weren't talking to on a regular basis. So this was, start out with different CRMs and we're currently using. A couple of years ago, we switched over to FUB and I started using Ponds. So, our first transition to Ponds were, getting leads out of agents' names that weren't being worked. That was huge. So it allowed other agents opportunity to like reach out to leads and create more business. And then we had partnered with Reside and we were coaching with Chris Snow out of Florida. And he had introduced us to something called Money Time Shift. So essentially what that is it's a shift that, and I'll back up just slightly. I added ISAs for our team last May. We've
Andrew,
hired,
before the chat beats me to it, where do you
yeah.
get your ISAs from?
So I have tried all sorts of stuff, but we now currently have everybody working direct from the Philippines. So we just went online jobs.ph and set up the profile. It's like $50 a month. Put up an ad. I had I had my assistant listen to people gave us voice scripts to make sure their English was clear. We then set up some interviews. I was kind of the final interview, and Nikki Pace over at Digital Maverick was kind enough to also interview some of our ISAs. They were a part of, Nikki was definitely a part of their training, obviously in house on what we're looking for. So that definitely helped. But what I was noticing early on, whenever I switched from round robin to go to Ponds, it at first was a free for all. And I would tell agents, hey, you guys can call whenever the lead comes in, just be calling the leads. And I quickly learned that no one called the leads at all. Um, and that was obviously very frustrating, spending lots of money. Obviously, brought in the ISA because we were bringing in lots of leads. And then I noticed that our agents weren't calling at all, and they were just waiting on a pass off from an ISA. So I quickly introduced Money Time and I incentivized it with our team structure and our team split. So I'll kind of explain that. But Money Time just essentially consists of a scheduled shift. We do 3 shifts a day. We have 8 to 12, 12 to 4, or 4 to 8 for an agent to sign up on the shift. And they're going to call the pond of refresher leads that we haven't gotten on the phone, that we have, before we put them to like a Shark Tank or a non-responsive pond. Um, and then while on shift, they are getting any live transfers from our ISA. So that was a way to incentivize the agent to show up to the shift. Now, the way I also double incentivize that is if they didn't schedule a shift and they were to take a live transfer, it was an additional 10% split to the team. So agents kind of realized pretty quickly that, hey, they got to put in some work to kind of make the whole thing work. And lots of different teams kind of run this, shift setup separate. I know other teams in the Reside community on the weekends maybe able to do smaller shifts to potentially try to get them filled. But we've stuck to the 8 to 12, 12 to 4, 4 to 8, for the last year or so. And initially, when we first started doing this, I'll kind of share my screen. Maybe that might help.
So what's the split if an agent takes a shift?
Yeah, so we have a 50-50 split that goes up to 70-30 based on production throughout the year. So while on shift, as long as they're doing the work and they're making the dials, they're on whatever split they're on the tier. Now, if they are not on a shift and they're taking a live transfer from our ISAs, they are going to pay the 60/40 no matter the tier. So definitely incentivize agents to kind of stay in production. But initially, we were using the agent leaderboard, and we were going based off points. Now, you guys can kind of see our agents right now. They are absolutely crushing their calls. We are currently on 100 call a day for a 100-day challenge. So, we are getting a lot of production out of that. What I noticed around this though is sometimes agents were kind of not using the appointment correctly. Like they'd use an appointment for a follow-up call, things like that. So we switched over to a points-based system, and those points, just to kind of talk about a couple, I'm looking at my other screen, guys. So for a call made, it's 1 point each. For connected call, it's 5 points. For a conversation, it's 10 points each. For a pending, they get 20 points. For closing, they get 30. For appointment, we actually zeroed it out because we noticed that was kind of getting gamed. And how we get all that really is just through the tracking and the reporting here inside of our follow-up boss. Now, how we kind of made this easier is we created a prompt per se in ChatGPT, and we would tell ChatGPT basically we're creating a scoring and a ranking system for our agents to determine the order they get to pick money time shifts. And the way we go about scheduling that is on our last Tuesday of our last meeting of the month on a Tuesday, we schedule it for the next month. So once we put this in ChatGPT, we take a screenshot of our reporting of our calls for the previous month. We just upload it into ChatGPT, and it gives us a breakdown. Now the person that's number one, they get to pick their shifts first, and so on and so forth.
And this is the page you screenshot specifically.
Yeah, so this would be the page I'd screenshot specifically, and I would, upload that into a chat onto ChatGPT, just a picture of it, very simple. We have now created a project, so I know some people talk about creating GBTs and all the other things, and we use AI quite a bit in our business, but I've not went as far as creating bots or nothing like that. Like I really tried to keep it somewhat simple. We've even started creating SOPs for this that we've given to our VAs. So
And when you say you've created a project, is that a project inside of ChatGPT?
yes, yep,
Okay. Well, I think the only difference between a project and a GPT is that a project's just private and you can't share it versus a GPT is public. But otherwise, the setup's the
got it.
same. Do you mind demoing what that looks like taking a screenshot of this and doing that exact prompt? And
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to copy and paste this prompt that I've all typed out that we're happy to share with you guys.
yeah,
And
do you mind
basically,
also posting that in the chat, that prompt?
yeah, of course. Uh, So we basically told ChatGPT, what we're looking for, you know, what it, and the reason why we did this is, I think for a lot of salespeople, lead generation sometimes becomes a roller coaster, and agents will get really busy and they'll quit making their calls and they'll have a really really big month. Um, we exclude myself and my wife from the ranking. We've now set it up to where we just have a secure home finder agent and a secure home finder ISA to really break it out a little bit more. Um, but we want them to, want it to calculate the whole score. So I will take a picture, a screenshot. All right.
So we have a couple questions while you're working on that, Andrew.
Yeah.
Ronald asked, "Is the Money Time Pond 5 times a week?"
So it's actually 7 days a week, and it's 3 shifts a day.
Okay. And I think the answer to this of how many shifts do each agent get, it's weighted based on the prompt you're putting in GPT, right? It's weighted on the production of last month.
Honestly, we started out by at least booking 6 for the month, like in the call or in the meeting. We'd allow each agent to pick 6. Now, as our team has grown, or as agents' productions have grown, some things have obviously changed a little bit. Let's see if it allows us to look at this Excel file. We've also had agents that, obviously if they, and I think we'll kind of point out and kind of share like, oh my gosh, she's scheduled for the whole month. What happens if I get a showing, right? Or what happens if I'm sick, or, the other thing. So, we allow agents to obviously exchange shifts. We allow them to swap. I mean, there are times that agents, just 100% have to call off a shift. From a team leader perspective, from a management perspective, what we believe is we just need to keep recruiting, and we've kind of given we kind of tell, and our agents understand why we need to recruit. So that's been pretty important too, because they understand all the shifts aren't getting filled, and they understand that opportunities are passing by.
Um, there's a second question from Andrew, and then I have my own personal question. Does the first agent to choose get the most shifts?
No, so they get their 6 shifts. Then we'll go through each agent, allow them to pick their 6. And then it's not share. Can you guys see the?
I still see the Follow Up Boss reporting screen. So I think at the top of Chrome, you can say share this tab instead, or yeah, you can just reshare.
Got it. Okay. So we take that, broken out from ChatGPT. This is what ChatGPT will rank, and it'll say basically, agent did XYZ. And I mean, we really make it really simple. So we just go in and say, hey, here's the shifts that you get to put in. Here's your name. We obviously mark out if the person didn't attend. Sometimes we've also been known to highlight it in red if the day's over. We've also found out most of our agents pretty well like keeping some of the same shifts. So John, he super loves working Friday to Sunday afternoon. That works really well for us because, gosh, not everyone wants to work weekends. We know Jeff here on our team. He likes to work weekdays. Kayla, she's been with us the longest. She's had a pretty big database. She has lots of past clients now, so she's not prospecting as much. And then Brian, he's been with us now for a little bit. He's one of the kind of guys that he keeps a very, very, very small database, but he gives those leads and those opportunities a lot of love. And when they come here in town, we're a second home market here in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. When they come in town, they're coming to see Brian. So it's been really exciting to kind of see what it's done for our agents' business. It's consistently kept our agents lead generating at times that in the past we've noticed that they haven't. Now, to get the lead from the pond, the agent has to have a minimum of a 2-minute conversation and a converting conversation to put them in their name. So it isn't just a hey, hi, how are you doing? We want them to get the LP mama, the location, the price, their motivation. Are they working with an agent? How are they buying it? What's the money look like? And, asking for some type of appointment, whether it's a follow-up call, a Zoom, to talk about the area or meeting in person to go look at properties when they're coming in town.
So Andrew, this spreadsheet you're showing, is this something that you're manually typing in during the team meeting when agents are saying, okay, now let's go down. okay, Brian, you're up first. What shifts do you want to take this week? And you've got like an assistant who's typing this out during the
Yep.
meeting.
One of our VAs is just on the call with us and taking all the notes and putting it in. We've now even went, as we've kind of like learned to do this better, we've even went a step farther. We created a money time calendar inside of our Google calendar, and we have our VA that will even send them a Google invite to let them know, hey, you have a shift.
Okay. And maybe I missed it. I heard you take a screenshot, but did you run this in GPT? I didn't see that screen share.
Oh gosh, let's see if I can go back. Let's see, share this tab instead. Okay, all right. Yes, so it did download. And
So you pasted the prompt, you attached the screenshot, you hit enter, and this is what it gave you.
Correct. Yep. And then what our VA has been doing with our, because we just, we have this money time. So we have January, we have February, we have March. They're pasting that just at the bottom of the Google sheet. What Google is, or what ChatGPT is creating for us.
The ranking.
The ranking, right? So that, when we're making those calls go, so like when we did March, Drew was first. Drew had a lot of calls, had a lot of conversations. He had a closing. So that was good.
Mm-hmm. And then the zeros, do they still get to pick shifts? They're just last.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. So the goal is to motivate them to want to do some kind of production. And obviously we know phone calls lead to conversations, and conversations leads to closings.
Got it. Okay. Can we back up a bit for those who are unfamiliar with the concept of money time pond? And I think a screen share is what would help the best visualize what it is in Follow Up Boss, what a pond is. Like basically, I guess I can help answer this too. A pond is basically a way to share leads with multiple people in your CRM. And you're basically signing up different agents within your team to take shifts to say, okay, I'm going to call the leads within the pond on Monday between the hours of, what was it, like 8 to 12 or
8
9?
to 12, 12 to 4, 4 to 8. Yep.
So all agents at all times of every day of the week have full access to this list, right? It's just that they're signing up shifts. So you don't have a VA like adding and removing the agents on the shifts. That would be too much work. It's just that it's like when they've said they're going to call, that's when they're expected to call.
Correct. Yep.
Because before the problem is you said, here's a pond, here are all the leads, anyone can call at any time, and no one was actually doing it.
Yeah. So when we wasn't holding anyone accountable to anything, we very quickly found out that, agents just weren't making the dials.
And how often, so I see here, you've got this money pond. You have 100 people here now. You've got people who are staged lead. You've got people in South Carolina, North Carolina, less than 30 calls made. How do people get removed from this list?
So after they've been called 30 times, our VA will change them to a non-responsive stage, which will kick. And I had it automated, but it kind of broke. But yeah, so I just have a VA goes in, they'll change the stage, and it'll kick it to non-responsive pond and kick off one of your campaigns.
So let's say you have an agent signs up 8 to 12, calls through the 104 people, and then you have an agent on shift 12 to 4. Would they potentially see the same 104 people?
Oh yeah.
Again? Okay.
Yeah.
And you have no concern that Lisa would be called at 8 o'clock and then again at 12 p.m.?
Nope. And in fact, we've definitely seen, I mean, you can kind of see here, today she's been called 4 times.
And I'm sure you get some piss off people, but
100%.
your conversion rate is higher.
Yeah. So what we know, and what we did before, Elena, we would pass off, we'd give a agent a lead, and we'd want them to call them once a day for 10 days. And I a great broker in our market kind of shared with me. He goes, I don't necessarily think you need 10 days because most people are going to all these different websites. And the first agent that typically talks to him on the phone wins. What you should be doing is you should be trying to reach out to them sooner or in a shorter period of time, but more times. So we found out this way has definitely increased the touch point on our dials. Even so to the point like this morning when I logged in, the money time pawn with just new leads that had been registered in our system with less than 30 calls was in the 80s. So I even have been pulling and putting people into the pond based upon lack of calls and website visits and website activity. Like I can kind of look here if old. I mean, I got someone created, January of 19. But we're putting them in based upon the amount of calls, and that's definitely pushed our conversion. It's definitely cleaned up our database a lot. So um, we're finally getting people on the phone that may have only gotten one, two, three, four calls that landed in a pond or into an agent's name. That wasn't worked all the way. Maybe the agent's no longer on our team. And as a overall for like the team, like gosh, we're still getting a bunch of leads, but um, we've noticed that when I first started a team, I thought I had to get 100 leads a person per month.
That's too many
It,
per person.
yeah, and then gosh, when someone would leave the team, I was so forward pacing and forward thinking that I would take the lead flow on.
Mm,
And at one point in time, I was taking like 300 to 400 leads a month
oh my
to
gosh.
myself, and I realized pretty quickly that it would lead to burnout, and my conversion wasn't as high as what it could have or should have been.
Can we go back a step?
Yeah.
How do leads enter Money Pond? How do you prevent personal leads from entering Money Pond? Do you promise agents, like if they host an open house, that their open house leads don't enter the Money Pond?
Yeah, so I'll be very transparent. Our team is not huge on open houses. I mean, I think probably 99% is we just work the phones and we work the leads that we have. Nothing against open houses. That's not most of our jams. We're a second home market, and we're getting the person on the phone before they get here. I'm not, there's plenty of people in our office that go, find business doing open houses, but I wanted something that I could scale and replicate across, lots of different agents. So, but yeah, to the point, if an agent puts a lead in the system, the source is sourced as agent, and we do have a database manager that kind of pulls leads, and we exclude agent source to kind of
Okay.
give the agent some clarity that hey, we're not gonna take your lead from you.
A couple questions from people in the chat. Do
Yeah.
you know what your conversation numbers were before you implemented Money Pond and what they are now?
Gosh, I wish I knew. I'll say that we're getting around a 10% uh, connect rate. So I'll kind of pull that up. So for every 100 people we call, we're getting about 10 people or so on the phone. Um, like, and I'll even like I called today. Um, I called 102 people. 9 people picked up the phone, and I had conversations with 5 of them. Um, that's a little bit lower, for myself sometimes. I'm typically a little bit closer, about 80%. We try to land at least to be above 60%. So for every 10 people that pick up the phone, we want to have a 2-minute or more conversation with 6 of them about buying and selling real estate, whether it's today or in the future.
And how many leads are you generating a month now? Because before you had the mindset that you needed to generate 100 leads per agent, but now that's not the case.
Yeah, let's see. So last month, um, we generated about 281 leads.
And that's for how many agents on your team?
Right now, about 15. And I will say, like, there's months that we get, we were getting 5, 6, 700 leads. Our agents, their databases, you know, they've put people in their name. They're working them. So our goal is for an agent to have 100 to 125 maximum team generated leads in their name that's looking to transact within the next year. And kind of show you like agent day in the life for us to kind of give a little bit more context around that. But we have, and I hadn't really kind of talked about blazing hot yet, but we have our hot, warm, cold. We do have some long term nurture and extended nurture. Um, but the goal is for the agent to pluck some opportunities out of the pond. I kind of say we're going to go fishing.
Mhm.
Take your fish out, get your fish bigger until you can cook them, kind of thing. Maybe that's my southern in me, but that's kind of how I tell our agents. Now, when we were taking on, 5, 6, 7, 800 plus leads a month, that was good. We really focused on team growth within this last year. We went from 5 agents to about 20 agents, and with attrition, we're back down to 15 or so. Because look, it's not for everybody, especially the calls. Some people really love going to do open houses, and that's just not really our thing. So they're probably not going to get as much value in our group as maybe another team, and we're okay with that. We understand our people's our people. Um, but most of our agents in their name now, they have that 80, 90, 100 leads, and they're busy. They're out showing property, they're writing contracts. Um, the other thing that how we kind of not pitched it, but like we kind of told our agents, like when they partnered with us and we were transitioning to Money Pond, is hey, if we're doing a round robin, you got to be on shift 24/7. And I don't know, a lot of people signed up to become a realtor for a work life balance, and they thought they wasn't going to work as much as maybe they did at their 9 to 5, or maybe some freedom. And I just said to my agents, hey, listen, I want you to show up and I want you to work really hard for those 3 hours. Do your lead generation and then get out of the office, go out in the field, go have lunch with clients, go look at houses, go spend time with your loved ones. And I think that's been really good overall for our team as well. Um, like the mentality that I don't have to be on 24/7 and I'm still going to get opportunity, and they can make real estate really fit their schedule and their lifestyle.
So the chat's been busy. I think I know the answer to this question that Ronald asked. Who holds the agents accountable for shifts? I think no one's held accountable. It's just that each week when you have the openings for shifts, it's just how they're ranked based on, oh, you didn't actually make very many calls, so it's assumed that you didn't make the calls that you signed up for your shift time after all.
So our VA, we have a VA and a database manager who every morning she'll put in the group chat, hey, people are signed up for XYZ shifts. We have open shifts. Would anybody like to sign up for them? We may have an agent that goes, hey, I got a doctor's appointment and I can't come to the shift today. And another agent will, obviously we try to get it filled with another agent. Our ISAs also, are we have 7-day a week coverage for our ISAs now. And they're really well trained that, speed to lead is super crucial. So even if there's an agent on the shift, our ISAs, if they see the lead, they're calling it. Now, look, if they're ready to go, they're just going to live transfer it over to the agent on shift.
Can they call from home? I'm guessing that question is, do they have to be in the office?
No, so most of our agents actually work remote. We're part of a brokerage that offers us 4 offices to use. But most of our agents, have a home office, work from home. I mean, we've been doing this 100 call challenge, and my wife and I, we were actually in Fort Lauderdale for our anniversary weekend, and we called from our iPad in the pool. So
Yeah, I remember you telling me that. I can't believe you called on vacation.
yeah, so we do not care. Just do the dials, and the other thing we don't really necessarily care about is when. Just do them.
Maybe you understand this next question. What percent of the 2-minute conversations leads to next steps and scheduled appointments?
60% or more most of the time. And one thing I guess I didn't cover is how agents get access to the money time shifts. So we've been a team that's been really focused on team growth. We look for agents to call from other ponds, and we're looking for them to have anywhere from 30 to 52-minute conversations before we put them on shift. They're calling through some, other staged ponds. The reason why we're doing this, I tell agents all the time, there's a skill and there's a will. And a lot of agents, including myself, very early on, I didn't necessarily have the skill, but I had the will and the drive to be successful in real estate. So I called and called and called and called. And of course, over time and lots of repetition, you get better. And, we really focus on training and lead conversion coaching. Our agents have access to about four or 5 calls a week held via Zoom. Um, but once we see that they're having good conversation rate, they're keeping people on the phone. Um, we will release them and allow them to get on the money time shifts.
Cool. There's another question in the chat, and then I've written down some questions, and it looks like some people are typing. Why have an ISA if agents are calling and following up?
Yeah, so good question. We have about 23,000 leads currently in our database, and probably by the end of the year, we'll probably have another 12,000 or so added. So, one, agents all the time can't necessarily make all those calls or those dials. They're out busy. They're in the field. They're doing what they do. The other thing I guess I'll kind of share under ISAs. So between coaching and actual salary, we probably spent about $45,000 last year on our ISA department, and that's a 7-day a week coverage, um, and it produced us to the team about $160,000 in gross commission. So, the next place that we're all the time looking for hires outside of, obviously support staff is extra sales roles. The other thing too, as you guys probably saw on our money time sheet, like not all of our shifts are filled. Um, the other thing too is like, the ISAs will get people in their name that are a year out, and they're going to nurture them and get them with an agent when it's time for them, when they're 90 days or so out from a purchase.
Yeah. Have you ever explored whenever you're doing your team meetings and agents are signing up for shifts? I know right now you have a VA who's listening in and doing the spreadsheet. Have you ever explored at the same time having something like Applaud listening in or using something like Granola and kind of like cross comparing how well it does? Like if you take the transcript and like while you're talking, be like, okay, Andrew, what shifts are you taking? Oh, I'm taking blah blah blah. And then okay, Elena, what do you want to take? Oh, I take blah blah blah. And then uploading that and say, okay, GPT, create the spreadsheet, and just kind of seeing, do we need the VA to do this? Do we need the VA to log that hour of being on the call live, or can an AI just take the transcript? I'm just
Probably so. I have a saying, KISS, keep it simple, stupid. Now, once we've gotten really good at it, I like to go in and try to perfect it with AI or automation of some sort. Um, we've really, we initially started out Money Time. Gosh, we were scheduling them in person at our meetings. There's sometimes now we just do Zoom calls. Um, Oftentimes, if it's not a VA, we also typically have our ISAs on those calls as it is, anyways, because we're trying to coach them on something around a lead conversion in the database. So we definitely want our ISAs to hear it. So there's been times, like even before we had as many VAs as we have, um, our ISAs would take notes. But I like the idea.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just curious. Can I ask you to share screen one more time? And
Yeah,
if you're open to it, sharing lead flow, just showing
yeah,
what, like, does every single lead source go to the money pond?
yeah.
Which ones do, which ones don't?
All right. Every single one goes to Money Pond. Besides, I just bought Zillow yesterday. We're not a flex market for the most part. We are mostly, um, yeah, mostly everything goes in.
And then all of those are just not set up. Those are waiting for a
Uh,
lead.
yeah, they're just not set up yet. I have a
Wow.
lot of tech as well, guys. Like I have multiple websites running into this.
Mhm. Oh,
Um,
I saw that your pond included North Carolina and South Carolina. Do all of your agents cover both?
no, so my wife had the idea of us growing our business into North Carolina, which is about 40 minutes away from us. So she went out and became a North Carolina broker so that we had access to the MLS. And I ran Google Ads around North Carolina opportunities for about 6 months, and not that we struggled per se, but not a lot of agents on the team, was excited about carrying two MLS costs and all the things. So we partnered with a few referral agents and just really have kind of left it at that.
Um, do leads get confused when different agents are calling from the same team?
I don't think so. So I think for most leads, they're typically registering on multiple sites. And the script that we use when we call a lead is we say, "Hey, Elena, this is Andrew Burnett out here," and I'll say whatever wherever they registered or here in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and I've been the one that's been sending you real estate listings, and I just wanted to check in, see if you're still looking. And then of course we collect our LP Mama information. When I had a lady that I called yesterday that was initially upset. I've got lots of calls. I just wanted to look at homes. She didn't understand every time she went on Google and she typed in homes for sale that she was going to click on an ad and end up on multiple people's websites. And she, at the end of the call, shared with me that she's been doing it for the last month. So I diffused her. I'll be very transparent. She initially hung up on me, and I called her back, and I said, Miss Elena, listen. I really want to help you. Our market is retirees a lot, and my grandparents were the people who raised me, and they're not very technology friendly. So I just was really patient with her. I explained to her how it worked and explained that this would be the last call she'd ever have to deal with if she'd allowed me to help her. And by the end of the call, she was thanking me. And I saved that as a training opportunity for our team for our next meeting. But I think agents, and I think somebody even kind of asked in the chat about like where we get our leads and stuff like that, or what leads the other agents are calling. But I've been investing in PPC for several years now, and I've often heard from agents that the leads are bad, or I need more leads. Heck, I even thought I needed more leads, and the fact of the matter is, you don't need more leads. You just need to call the leads you have more, and work them, and really be curious. I told an agent on our team this week, hey man, we're about the same age. Did you watch Curious George when you were a kid? And he goes, yeah. I said, man, you got to be George when you're on the phone. You just got to ask so many questions and ask and dig and come from a place of value and from a place of how can I help you as the consumer, no matter if you're buying today or 10 years down the road. And I share with clients, soon to be clients on the phone all the time, that I've helped one person now after talking to them for 6 years. So I'm not inherently a patient person, but I'm patient and happy to help you.
That's great. Okay, we have one more question in the chat. The newer agents who don't have access to Money Time Pond, what kinds of leads are they calling?
They're just aged leads in the system. So I'll kind of share. We have a next paycheck, which has lots of like low call volume. So these are leads that haven't been called in 48 hours with less than 20 calls. If I did 30, it'd be more. I have a stocked pawn, which is a back to ISA. We have a Y priority, which is Y priority elites from Ylopo if you're using Ylopo. I have an active on site, no call for a week. No calls in 30 plus days. And then we've also got we've gotten bulk leads from lead providers, like aged leads particularly, that we've done really well with. It is a bit of a harder. You got to be better on the phone. Full transparency, because you're it's a blind call, right? So you're just calling someone that was looking at some point in some time, and we've gotten as old as 8 years old. And what we're noticing is that those leads typically are looking to buy or sell again. And we're able to get them for pennies on the dollar because we're buying such old leads. And most agents are sold that new leads are the best leads. And other thing I'll tell you is we're pretty consistent that when agents join our team and they call these pawns, they have a pending to a paycheck with roughly in about the first 45 days, and they're building a database. We really want to see them have 30 to 50 leads in their name at the end of that 45 to 50 days, based upon calling around 100 people a day for 4 or 5 days a week.
Cool. I feel like we could have dove into all of the things you shared for like another hour, but I won't do it. But Andrew, thank you so much for your time and again, everything that you shared. What I'll probably do after this session is take your prompt and play around with it and play with a prompt builder and work on making it like what's the word, like neutral, not so Andrew and Allie specific, but this is really cool. Yeah. And I'll once I take a look at it, and I'll definitely share it in the prompt library once I try to Andrew and Allyify it. But yeah, thank you so much, Andrew. And again, it's in the replay library. If you don't have access to it, use code welcome for $47 off. And I'm sure we'll be in touch soon, Andrew, and hope to see y'all again for our next session, which is actually, before y'all head out, our next session is next week on Wednesday with Joe Janis. We this is going to be a fun one. It's quite different. He's going to be getting really vulnerable with you all on how he's learned how to stop shape shifting and build trust through real connection. He has been learning a lot ever since childhood on how he's been able to stop being a chameleon and how he's been able to be in sales without having to constantly feel like he has to change who he is and truly be himself, because you hear that all the time where you want to be yourself but you still need to sell, and he feels confident in that. So I'm looking forward to learning from him. But thank you all, RSVP for that, and all the future events. They're all free to attend live. Thank you, Andrew. Appreciate your time.
Bye guys. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.